New Gold and Black Live, Michaela Patt joins us, Director of Content Strategy and Innovation.
Yes.
That's a big title. But,
Director of all of the innovation.
Yeah, that's right. And that is, I don't think you can go to sleep at night when you're head of innovation. But Michaela joins us in segment 2. I want to thank our sponsors, Basham Reynolds, John Basham, the good folks there, already into 2019-20. Apartment rentals for students, and John, about as passionate as you get it from a Purdue sports fan. Triple X on the hill, but on the level of Purdue tradition since 1929. Carrie and Greg Erisman also have been great supporters of our show. Hilton Garden Inn, when tomorrow's a big day, stay at HTI tonight. State Farm agent Trent Johnson. And Trent, if there's a Purdue athletic event, Trent's usually on the sidelines or on the scorer's table. Been a great supporter not only of Gold and Black, but certainly of Purdue sports over the years. Michaela, I don't know how you do your job, because everything you do in the world of digital media changes 6 months later, it seems. What you're growing up, what makes you good at that, or being able to deal in a constant state of change, you think?
Yeah, I think I've kind of got two sides to my personality. Yeah. So I'm very analytical. I have a finance major. Yeah. I love that side of things, but also grew up in a creative space where I played sports, but I also played guitar and played piano growing up. So I have a very creative side. So I think that and my marketing background, marketing degree, I think those two things work together really well. When you think about marketing or digital media, you have to be able to be analytical and make decisions, but also be creative and be willing to step outside the box. So that's kind of where I come from. Finance
and marketing, that is on both ends of the spectrum, but yes. That's good for you. Grew up in Nebraska and graduated from the University of Nebraska. One thing you had to have learned, and it was probably in your soul, so to speak, is that passionate fan base, people that support at a very, very high level. What did that experience teach you growing up?
Yeah, growing up, going to Husker football games is what you did. I went to every home game since I was 6. So that's just what you do, and that's what the town does. And I think moving here, you saw that passion with men's basketball. That's a different area that back in Nebraska that's not the staple sport. So when I got here in 2013, that was really a fun thing to learn about a basketball culture when you had good basketball, because that was never the case growing up. So it's been really exciting to kind of switch gears and then be able to take some experiences on the football side, and to see that shift over the last few years has been a great thing to be a part of.
The men will have an experience, maybe a harrowing one, hopefully not if you're a Purdue fan on Saturday afternoon. But it's an interesting thing at Nebraska, because Nebraska not known for basketball, but they play in a relatively new facility, but since they joined the Big Ten, sell a lot of tickets. I mean, in terms of that, what did you learn about just growing up in terms of that passion level of Cornhusker fans, in terms of not just football, because they really support the university in a tremendous way as well?
Yeah, I think growing up in a fan base like that, you really learn the importance of the relationship that the fan and the athletes have. Yeah. And so being in marketing, that's a perfect fit, where you can help influence that and grow that relationship, where connections are made when you're 6 years old, 8 years old, going to school, and you wear your team colors to school. Those are when those fans start. And so for us, that's why the Boilermaker Kids Club has been such a focus of our department for the last few years. And I think that's really going to pay off down the line, and being able to make your program available to everybody and really exciting for 6-year-olds and 60-year-olds. That's our job. In small.
Yeah, no doubt, and that's a big part of what you do on a daily basis. You do it now, just from the digital side, Twitter, Instagram. Is there a rule of thumb, or what are you trying, when you do that and looking at it from a data perspective, what are you trying to get done in terms of making sure you touch members of certain Twitter followers or Instagram followers or or Facebook folks? Do you have a data point that says, hey, this is what we want to try to get accomplished on a daily basis with communicating with our fans through that medium?
It's definitely a new thing. I switched over from marketing to digital in December. So still kind of learning the space, but you definitely have different fans and different groups. Instagram is traditionally younger. Twitter is kind of your news source, all encompassing. Facebook tends to skew a little bit older. So you have to think about that when you're posting, and the different platforms make it interesting with their different algorithms. And if you know anybody in the digital world, they talk about the algorithm of Facebook all the time as a game, trying to learn what it likes and what it doesn't like. So that's something that we really want to focus on going into next year, is looking at those data points. For us, engagement is really important. So not necessarily how many people follow us, because we've got our fan base and we want to grow that. But of the people that do care and follow our content, is it engaging? Are they commenting, sharing, liking? Those are the things that are important to us. As much as we, follower growth is also important, but you need to make sure that you're putting out the right content that people are interested in.
One of the things I find interesting on Twitter, you really build a personality almost. It's like you're speaking to your fan base. Good morning. You'll tell them, hey, today's a big day because you've got you got senior day coming up or whatever it is. That is a strategy, I assume, but is that have you found that to be an effective, and it seems like that's changed maybe in the last couple of years, where it's really become that focus of that, and I'll use Twitter because that's where I tend to be more, is almost a voice of the program speaking on a daily basis to constituents.
Yeah, I think developing voice for your account or for your team is one of the biggest challenges in the social world, and making sure that voice stays consistent. So we're still kind of finding our ground there. But when I think about somebody who follows Purdue sports, they're the Purdue fan that wants a little bit of everything. So that's how we try and put our content out there, is that it is heavy on a basketball night. We're going to be talking about the basketball game, but we've also got swimming championships this weekend. So making sure that we're hitting everything in some way. But another thing we think about is really what do our fans want to say? If I Purdue Sports was a fan, how would they react to the end of the game on Tuesday night? And so for me, that was a gif of Painter with his Painter fist pump, and that's the reaction. And that some of those kind of reactionary tweets and less informational, those are what get the most interaction from our fans. Yeah.
So when things don't go well, which they do, there are times when you don't win. What kind of challenges does that bring to the table, where it's an extremely disappointing loss? I know particular examples, but how do you deal with that from a social media standpoint?
I think we're lucky on the Purdue sports side, is that we kind of leave the game updates to the sport accounts, and so they, it's up to them to really do that, and there's always something that you could point out from a game. So whether it was a fan experience element, a special fan tunnel, a special recognition, there's always something that can be talked about outside of the game, and that's really what we try and do on the Purdue side. Is our event coverage is not so focused on game, but it's what's going on around the game. What's the feeling of the game? Did fans enjoy themselves? And so that's really what we try to do. And if it was a close game and we had great fan support, thanking those fans for being there is always a win in our book.
Now, I've been down to your offices, and it's not the dungeon, because they're nice offices, but you're down in the basement. But there are a lot of people going at it on a daily basis. Take me through how many people are actually going through this concerted effort, and it can be, I'm sure, almost a 24/7 deal, because their events are at night, et cetera. So tell us a little bit about that.
So in the last year, we put together the Creative Suite, which is down in the basement of Mackey. So we've got video, photography, graphic design, and then digital media in our area, all kind of in one large shared office space. So in there, everybody is working on their own content. You can bounce ideas back and forth. It's not so closed off. So if you need somebody's attention, we've got Nerf guns. You can shoot them across the room and get their attention. So it's definitely an awesome team. Photography, we have one full-time photographer.
Charles.
We have, Charles does some great stuff for us, and he works with a lot of students. We have a lot of students in general that help us out down there as well. But we've got 4 designers now, so 2 with the football program and 2 that kind of help everybody else. And then on the digital media side, we've just added a 3rd member, so there's 3 on our team. And then video has 5 or 6 that kind of help help cover in different aspects of all of our video needs.
So what are the challenges? Because when I walk down there, I've been down there a few times for the various projects. They're all creative people, almost everybody in there, and that can present an interesting challenge from a personality standpoint. I mean, I think everybody seems to get along just fine, but
Yeah.
how do you do that when everybody's got a lot of ideas? How do you take those ideas and say, all right, this is going to work, or we're going to try this? That's your job, maybe, but how does that dynamic play out in your view?
Yeah, I think in our office, one thing I'm really thankful for is our leadership wants us to try new things all the time. So even if an idea is off the wall and may not work, we're going to try it, and we're going to put things out there and do our best. And if you're willing to be behind your project and see it to the end, then there's a chance, a good chance that we're going to put it out there. And some things work and some things don't work.
Yeah.
But a perfect example of that was our video team this summer. There was a puppy and Carson video.
Oh, yeah, I
And
saw that.
If you pitch that to somebody, they maybe ask why. But that really turned into something that got great reaction. It was just a silly video in the summer to really keep fresh. But speaking of data, some of the interesting things you can pull from Twitter data is what your fans are interested in. 99% of our fans on Twitter like dogs. So
Yeah.
looking back at it, it makes sense that video did well. So those types of things, I think it's important to just realize that no idea is a bad idea, and that any critique or criticism isn't personal, because we are all just trying to do the best and most innovative work that we can.
And you did a good job of pulling that thing back out for Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah, that was perfect.
That was good. I was impressed by that, because it is about that. And that maybe is a blessing in this world, though, is you do have data, and we can track what stories get traction to some extent. And we do a lot more of that now than we did 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a blessing, because you know data that works, but you also, how much does intuition still have to play into this in terms of, yeah, that did show that. I know that, this, but I think it's this. I mean, how is that, how do you balance that?
Sometimes you have to trust your gut, and I think digital and in-game presentation sometimes are similar in that, where if you're trying to find a good video for social media or the video board during a game, sometimes you just have to trust your gut that this is going to work and people are going to get it and they're going to think it's funny, or whatever you're trying to accomplish with that video. But I think data for us is the biggest thing that we have an opportunity to really grow. And so we sat down with our whole team, including communications, kind of all across the board, ticket operations, to really sit down and decide what data points matter to us, because every program is different. Nobody's the same across the board. So we kind of have the start of a direction and where to go on data analytics, and that's a huge part of my new job here.
Yeah. Does it make you nervous sometimes when the first time a video goes up in Mackey Arena, whether it's going to play well or not? I mean, and most of them do. There are those that haven't played, have to play better than others. Tommy Loose is pretty good on that.
Yeah, getting loose with Tommy, that was an intern's idea last year, and we shot it mid-season, and we're like, well, I don't know how this is going to go, but we'll put it up there. And we didn't expect or even think that the students were going to follow along. That didn't even cross our minds. And then that first time we played it last year, and the students are, 5,000 students following along to his workout routine. That was pretty fun for us. So you get happy accidents sometimes.
You've got to be willing to take a chance in that world. Okay, I was going to ask you about, and we're about a minute left here.
Okay.
Innovation. Mm-hmm. How do you market? How do you manage innovation in your role? I mean, that title, that's on your title. There's so much going on, and it's going to change. It's probably going to change 5 years from now. We'll have this conversation and be a different medium of some kind. But what's the strategy from your personal perspective and experience of how you manage innovation?
I think you have to understand that everything changes. You can have a plan going into a season even, and some new technology will come out, or a new capability that you really need to incorporate, and you just have to be moldable and flexible, and know that things will change. I think with innovation being in my title, I think that really stems from the digital world is people see that as the up and coming space and where things change often. So if we're going to try new things or try and be more efficient in a certain area or try and make more revenue in a certain place, that usually starts digitally. So that's really where that piece comes in, is always out looking for new technologies, ways to make our jobs easier, ways to help us generate more revenue, and ways to even even help us win on the field. That's not, I don't deal with the teams at all, but we do have some data analysts, like on the men's basketball program,
Right.
and now even in football that really help and can use that kind of thing to help a team be successful.
Yeah. All right. So lastly, Instagram. I mean, what's the next thing that you're going to? I mean, Snapchat among college students. My daughter. I mean, that's the way she communicates with everybody. What's next? What do you see the next platform? Is there another platform? Is the goal to focus more on what you're doing best with maybe the big three with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram?
I think Instagram is definitely the newest and place that we can grow, and they have so many capabilities now with stories and IGTV that really are replacing other apps. So Snapchat is becoming obsolete because of Instagram stories. So making sure that we grow Instagram and use it to its full potential, I think is something that we're going to focus on this year, and then YouTube as well. YouTube's been around forever, but with the way that the Big Ten video contracts work, we have to use some different tools to get our videos out there. So YouTube is something that we're looking to kind of dive into a little bit more this year and be more active there.
All right. Her job interview's over now. I feel like I'm interviewing. I didn't want to make it that way, but it's just an interesting, very interesting topic to me, and we obviously digested a lot of the material that comes out from athletics and helps us form a little bit about what we do as well. So good luck with the relatively new position, and maybe you'll have a long run in the NCAA tournament for the men or the women, and or both, and who knows how that will go, but that will make for more excitement as well.
Absolutely.
So, and you got that guy named Rondell Moore to have some fun with next year.
They make it easy on us.
Yeah,
sure.
I think that may be true. All right, we're going to take a 2-minute break and bring in our guy, Brian Newbert, who will talk some Purdue basketball. Obviously, a huge game. He'll be making his way to Lincoln, Nebraska, a place Michaela knows well. And the Boilermakers will be in for a battle on Saturday afternoon when the Boilermakers take on the Cornhuskers. We'll take a 2-minute break and be back for segment 3 of Gold and Black Live.